I spoke in last video about this gap being filled once certain levels were lost. We can see price eventually filled the gap and broke much lower, to touch levels shown in next chart. We can now remove the gap box and look to see if any other gaps were formed on this downtrend. The USDT chart shows, after breaking the trend line, we can see it has now broken above this other trend line and is trying to reclaim the original trend line it broke down from. This is not a good sign for Bitcoin. For the bull run to continue, we need this to break down again and to not get above that dreaded purple line. On the Bybit chart, after entering the long from 2 videos back, we took partial profit at trendline, then waited for main target of fib pocket, which price never got to. We saw a SFP of that red line I spoke about where a short could be taken. I never took the short as the order flow was not very bearish, and when it did the SFP again, I was not near a device to take the trade. Hopefully you listened in to my analysis and took the short trade on one of these SFPs. I entered the short down here once the trend line was broken, and also closed my long here as well, knowing once we went under that trend line then lower was to come, just as per what I said in last video. So the short trade I planned for was able to be taken at several times on the chart, at each SFP, and then under the trend line. The targets were the CME gap at 110,000 and then 101,000. We see Bitcoin drop down to take out these levels and bounce off that trend line and reclaim the levels. I am now out of my short once these levels were reclaimed. I did enter a small long earlier today after seeing this reclaim of the monthly level. Now we watch to see if Bitcoin can hold these levels or that 101K target could be hit if they are all lost. The daily level I spoke about in last video where I said, if we lose this, then we go down to fill gap is now taken. So we remove it from the chart as well as the trend line that is now invalidated. We now watch to see if this bounce off the trend line can continue. Price must stay above these levels and continue to reclaim resistance above, or this could just be a dead cat bounce. Lose the levels and that 101K area with a lot of confluence will be hit, and that is where the next aggressive long can be taken if we get a nice reaction. This 116K level is of major significance. As shown, it is the fib pocket level, and this is a worry as bear markets start with a rejection at these levels from a major top. Bitcoin must break this, or bull run is done. The volume bars show, once it breaks the fib level, there is nothing there to stop it up to 121,000. I would expect it to go to new highs if we get up to this area. So now we wait for a long down at 101,000, unless you got in on the reclaim of the levels and bounce off trendline. Be patient as price could go either way from here, which is why we monitor the levels and USDT chart for clues. Right now, price is not at a spot to take a long or short, so patience is required until we see some weakness of those levels, where you take a short, or a reclaim of 116,000, where you take a long. I said at end of last video about a huge bounce on the last 2 days of October, which was a gut feeling, not analysis. What I expected was a push-up from the rate cut in the US. Instead, price dropped. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and the bell notification.